Welcome to Behind the Headlines on J-Air. I'm your host, Adam Slonim. It's Monday, the 10th of February, 2025. And tonight, my friends, we peer into the abyss of institutional failure, political cowardice, community betrayal, and a society on the brink. But first, I want to talk about courage. Real courage, not just of our beloved hostages held in Gaza's dark grip, but of their families, enduring the agonising drip of each passing day, knowing their loved ones languish in unspeakable conditions. Tonight, I'll be speaking with Ela Haimi, a woman whose story will really pierce your heart. A timely reminder that we are all bound together in this fight. But now, I want to pick up from last week and return to the story that's been shaking Sydney and indeed all of us. The discovery of a caravan packed with explosives in the quiet suburb of Dural. What we've unearthed since then is not just disturbing, it is utterly damning. For it is not merely what was found that should freeze your blood, it's how our police, our security agencies and our government have mishandled the situation. Our story begins with three key questions. What actually happened? Why is this handling of the incident so concerning, so grossly inadequate? And what does it say about our authorities? What does it say about how our authorities are protecting the Jewish community and our democracy at large? So let's start with what do we know? What actually happened? On January 19th, 2025, New South Wales Police discovered a caravan in Dural containing aged power gel explosives. The explosives were old, decades old in fact, and crucially, there was no detonator found. But inside the caravan were also addresses of Jewish institutions in Sydney, pointing to a clear ideological target. Now, this raises a fundamental question. Was this an active, imminent plot or something else entirely? The most plausible scenario is this was likely an incomplete plot in its early stages. The perpetrators may have been assembling materials over time, planning a mass casualty event, but hadn't yet acquired all the necessary components like a detonator. Alternatively, this could have been a symbolic act of intimidation. Even without a detonator, the discovery of explosives and anti-Semitic targeting could itself have been intended to instill fear in the Jewish community. An act of intimidation designed to inject undiluted fear into the heart of our community. This brings us to the second, more troubling part of the story. The authorities' response is a masterclass in incompetence, disunity, and political cowardice. 4 cardinal sins, my friends. First, the caravan was uncovered on January 19th after a tip-off. But the public, the Jewish community, we weren't informed until January 29. 10 days, a 10-day abyss of silence. Why? New South Wales Premier Chris Minns was in the know almost immediately. But Prime Minister Anthony Albanese left out of the loop until much later. This isn't just a communication breakdown, it's a colossal failure at the country's highest levels of power. Second, the Premier was quick to brand this, quote, a terrorist plot. But investigators have yet to confirm this officially. So we need to ask, was this political opportunism? A gamble to seize headlines while the facts lay scattered in some shadow? Third, the very, very difficult media leak. Even before authorities could finalise their investigation, details leaked to the media forcing the New South Wales Police to go public earlier than planned. This suggests either a security breach within law enforcement or a politically motivated leak. Either way, it reeks of disunity and dysfunction within our policing institutions. Fourth question. Some individuals were arrested on unrelated charges, but no one has been directly charged in relation to the caravan. So this raises questions about the strength of the evidence and whether investigative priorities are being influenced by other pressures. Let's unpack this. And what does it say about protecting the Jewish community? Well, this isn't just a story about explosives. This is a story about how seriously our authorities are taking threats against the Jewish community. And frankly, the handling of the case paints a deeply disturbing picture. The bungled disclosures and the inconsistent handling of this nightmare send a message as loud as, well, a bomb blast. Your safety isn't our priority. This is a fundamental erosion of social trust that leaves our community vulnerable and our democracy grasping for air. The hesitation to classify this as terrorism, despite clear anti-Semitic targeting, also suggests a growing tolerance for anti-Semitism in the political, security, policing and public discourse. Why the hesitation to classify this as terrorism when the targets were crystal clear? Is this mere incompetence or something worse? A growing tolerance for anti-Semitism? After 16 months of unrelenting assault on Australian Jews, we must ask, can we feel safe in this country today? Because when anti-Semitic threats are not treated with the attention and the urgency they deserve, when anti-Semitism is downplayed or ignored, when violent, hate-filled demonstrations are permitted every week under the guise of free speech, we are witnessing the slow strangulation of our society. My friends, this story, the real story here, is a betrayal of the Australian Jewish community. So now let's talk about the leak. Who did it, and what does it really reveal about the state of our institutions? Could have been a law enforcement insider, disillusioned, desperate to force transparency. Political operative, hungry for power, eager to undermine rivals. Or someone determined to alert the Jewish community and the public, believing the authorities were moving too slowly. It matters not who did it. The mere fact that it happened is a glaring indictment of the deep dysfunction festering within our security agencies. A house divided, my friends, cannot stand. And there is a deep dysfunction in our security agencies. Well, I actually don't give a cracker about interagency rivalries and the normal cockfighting. I am mad as hell about this. A near mass casualty event and the agencies sworn to protect us are brawling amongst themselves? This, while this morning I walked my grandchildren to kindergarten, passing two fully armed guards, a massive gate placed in a high brick wall, surrounded by barbed wire. In what world is this normal? We are witnessing a glimpse into serious institutional decay in this country. The Dural Caravan incident isn't just a botched terror event. It's a mirror reflecting the cracks in our democracy. It exposes gaps in our security systems, the political manipulation of national security, and a chilling, bone-chilling complacency towards anti-Semitism. We demand that our leaders confront anti-Semitism head-on, No more weasel word salads and political games. The Prime Minister and state and territory leaders held a national cabinet meeting about this, and all the 9 of them came up with was a database. Prime Minister, get in front of this. Get your house in order. This is on your watch and the clock is ticking. If Australia cannot guarantee the safety of its Jewish community, what does that say about the health of our society? I plea again to civil and religious leaders, stand with us. Stand at our schools, stand at our synagogues, and demonstrate with us, because here's the unvarnished truth. When one community is vulnerable, we all are. Because if democracy cannot protect its most vulnerable, then it is no democracy at all. Listeners, today is a very, very special interview. We're incredibly privileged to have David Metzler, who's one of the directors of the IDF Widows and Orphans organisation, which, of course, since October 7th has grown terribly. And I'm going to talk to David in a minute about the organisation. Many of you will have known David at his time as UIA Shaliach in Melbourne, where he made a massive impact and extended friendships right through the community. So David, welcome to the show. I know we're speaking to you from Jerusalem.
Thank you so much, Adam. It's good to see you again, and thank you for having me.
Pleasure. David has organised for us to speak to someone very, very special, Ela Haimi, who I'm about to introduce. In Australia, we feel the pressure of the anti-Semitism. We feel the pressure of a government not supporting us enough, or governments not supporting us enough. And I thought it was important for us to go back to basics, to understand, number one, we're not alone in this struggle with our family and friends in Israel. And that struggle has a very, very big toll. And we may feel the pressure here, but of course in Israel, the pressure is somewhat different. Our guest tonight, Ela Haimi, is originally from kibbutz near Yitzhak, and I'm going to talk about that in a second. Ela, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Ela, in many ways, and it was your story, I know, was written up in the Jerusalem Post in October last year, and I want to quote the headline. Ela, your story symbolizes the cost of the conflict and the strength required to rebuild after unimaginable loss. And if you can open up by sharing with us your story from October 7th and tell us about where things are today.
Okay, so actually, me and Tal, my husband, we live in a kibbutz near Yitzhak. It's 3.4 kilometers from the border with the Gaza Strip. We have 3 kids, twins. They were 9.5, and another one, he was 6 years old. We had a regular life, regular routine day of school, work, homework, and dinner together. Very, very simple family. Tal was a mechanical engineering in a factory, and he was the head of the security team of the kibbutz. It's a team of volunteer people to protect the kibbutz in case of emergency. And October 7, we woke up at 6:30 a.m. We heard a lot of the Iron Dome, not the sirens, just the sounds of the Iron Dome. It was very loud because it's close to the kibbutz. And after a few minutes, the sirens began. And Tal said it sounds very different than the other times it's happened, and we may go all of us to the safe room. We woke up the kids and we went to the safe room. It's another room in the house. And then he tried to close the door and to lock it. But he understood that the door is broken and we cannot lock, and also we can't close the door. After a few minutes, he got a phone call and he had to go. He took his equipment and he went out of the house. But after 2 minutes, he came back and told me, please lock the main door of the house because there are terrorists in the next kibbutz. So I locked the door and I put there everything I found, like a sofa, like a box with mangoes, chairs, everything I could, I put there just to make it harder to get into the room, to the house. And we start a day.
Where
Suddenly,
were the children? Sorry, Ella, where are your
in the
children?
safe room, in
In
the
the
safe
safe room.
room, yes. And suddenly we start to hear a shooting, a lot of shooting. And at 8:30, I called Tal in the phone, and I asked him if everything is okay. He said, yes, everything is okay, but I can't speak. It was just a regular conversation of every day, really. And I think between almost 10 o'clock in the morning, we got a formal message, SMS, that from the kibbutz, that they told us that there are terrorists in the kibbutz and we need to stay in the safe room and lock the main door. Lock every door we can. I couldn't lock and close the door of the safe room, so I just stayed there. I took knives to protect us in case of terrorists in my home. And then we stayed there over the day. I think around 12, I text Tal in the WhatsApp. I text him if he's alive, if he was alive. But this message never arrived to him. And I see the news in Sderot, in other kibbutz. I have a family from Be'eri. I heard from them that the situation is very, very bad. And I think, and I thought that something very bad is happening, and that I have bad news about Tal, but I didn't know anything. That the kids, they were fine. They hear everything, but they watched the movie. They tried to sleep. I brought them food to the safe room. And I know that when we will go out from the safe room, I will get very bad news. At 9 o'clock, we got message that we can go fast from our homes to the kindergarten. The kindergarten is covered by protection, and we can be there. There are as 5 buildings like this. All the kibbutz, we were together in 5 building of kindergarten. And I took the kids, and then they saw that I blocked the main door. They asked me, why did you did it? And I told them because I didn't want that someone will come, someone that we don't want to will get into the room, to the house. And we walked fast, very fast. And in the kindergarten, we met Ortal. Ortal is Tal's aunt, and she has a special job in emergency. And then she told me that Tal phone was located in Gaza Strip in Khan Yunis. And this is good news because it means that he is probably alive. And I took the kids and I opened the phone I opened the maps in the phone, and I showed them where is Khan Yunis, and I told them this is very close to Nir Yitzhak and we will back soon. And then then my parents came, and Tal's father and sister. His mother died 3 months earlier. She had cancer. And I told them in one sentence that Tal is probably kidnapped and that I am pregnant. I was in the beginning of pregnancy, It was my third pregnant with the fourth child. They were shocked. They were really shocked from both of the news. And we stayed there, something like 100 people together with cats, with dogs on the floor. We stayed there overnight, and in the morning, the bad news start to arrive. Also, bad news for Nir Yitzhak. Then I understood that people really died in this day, and this is it happened. And we heard that we are going to Eilat. All the kibbutz together, we're going to a hotel in Eilat to the next days. After 24 hours, they let us 10 minutes to take everything we need to go to Eilat. I went home. I took Eilat, a vacation. We have a sea, we have fish, we can have a good time. And I took everything I need. There are also masks to snorkeling. And in the night, they took us to Be'er Sheva. They just want to take us as far as possible from the kibbutz, because the kibbutz was still a danger place to be.
So
And
I just want to ask, so what I'm hearing is the first 14 and a half hours, you are alone with your children in the safe room,
yeah,
basically till 9 o'clock at night.
yeah,
So from 6:30 to 9 o'clock, 14 and a half hours with three
yeah,
little children. Then you
yeah.
go to the kibbutz, the Cheder Ochel, or one of the main areas, and you're there with the rest of the kibbutz overnight till the next morning, till early the next morning, 24 hours, so 6:37. And then they evacuate you, right? So,
No, we were all the kibbutz together for another 24 hours.
so another 24,
Yeah,
so you're,
yeah. Just in Sunday night, we evacuated to Eilat.
okay, all right. So
But I wanted to say that the army arrived on October 7 I think it was 2 o'clock afternoon. The first soldier came to Nir Yitzhak.
right. So you're there in the safe room, 2 o'clock the army comes, 9 o'clock you're evacuated, 24 hours later, again, you're evacuated. Okay. Wow.
Yeah. What I wanted to say that in the WhatsApp group of the kibbutz, I saw the route of the terrorist, because when the terrorists enter to a house, the family wrote, "They are here." And then I saw the route of them, and it was very far. They got closer and closer, but they didn't arrive to my home. So we are staying over the night on the grass in Be'er Sheva for the night in Sunday night, and just in the early morning they took us to Eilat. We came to Eilat, a huge mess, a lot of information and disinformation, and nothing is wrong and nothing is true. It was very, very hard. And after a few days, the army told me that Tal in a status of a hostage, but missing hostage, which means they know he's not in Israel, but they don't know what is his situation. And this is the information. And I remember the first time I did when I arrived to Eilat is to go to the hospital and check that everything is fine with my pregnant. It was very important for me to know that everything is okay, because it's maybe the last memory from Tal. And everything was okay, and I really believed that Tali was alive. Really, I thought that he's gonna come back. I couldn't sleep, I couldn't breathe, I couldn't eat, I couldn't drink. I feel guilty because I have information, I have air to breathe, I have food, I have the sunlight, and Tal doesn't. It was very hard days, and but I knew that I must to protect myself because I have a baby. and I have another 3 kids. That they are confused and afraid. And I remember that we found out that Tal is a Romanian citizenship. So I went to Romania for 3 days to make interviews and meetings. And when I came to leave Romania to come back to Israel, the Prime Minister of Romania told me that he have a very important news for me. I cannot say it in here, but it was very important news that we found out they were wrong. And
Sorry, what do you
I
mean?
came back.
What do you mean they were wrong? I'm not following. What do you mean they were wrong?
The information I got from him wasn't true.
About
And
Talbing in Khan Yunus?
about the situation
Right.
in general, about Tal's situation.
Okay.
And after 2 months, the army officer came to me and they told me that they found Tal's helmet and Tal was dead. That Tal killed on October 7, but his body is held by Hamas. And then I had to make a lot of decision, very hard decision. If are we doing a funeral? What are we going to bury? It will be a funeral in army rules? How are we gonna do it? If it's a temporary grave, or uh, where I'm gonna bury the helmet? Sorry, it was a very hard decision and to make. But we did a funeral. I thought it's some kind of closure to the kids. It was important for us. And we buried just the helmet. And I thought it will help us to move on to the next step of our life. But I found out it wasn't, because there were a lot of open questions and without the answers. For example, that the kids ask if how can someone declarate about the Tal is dead without his body, and they think that maybe the army is wrong and Tal will come back. Very, very hard questions, and that I need to deal with. And then I understood that our story didn't end yet, and that Tal must come back and bury him forever in Nir Yitzhak land, the place where he loved, the place that he died for and protect us. This Tal deserve this honor, and we deserve this closure. And also, I think that this is what makes us different from our enemies, that we will do everything we can to bring our people back. And I want that my kids will grow up, that when they know that their country and the Jewish community all over the world, we will do everything we can to protect one each other.
Yes.
And what I want to say that there is also happiness in my story. And in May 1st, Lotan was born. It was very happy birth. It brought a lot of happiness to our life. The kids, they were so happy. It didn't make the heart the heart, the sadness less sad. It wasn't. It's parallel, the sadness and the happiness. It's everything is very strong. We are very happy and we are very sad.
Which
It's
is
together because
Ella,
I know.
that's very hard to
Yeah.
to have both of those.
Go to the feelings.
Yeah,
Yes.
I
And
don't know how you did it. And what about Tal's family?
yeah, also they're so happy. And the Tal's father, he was the sandak of Lotan in the Brit. It was very exciting. And it's very hard because I know that Lotan will never meet his father. He will hear a lot of story, and he will see the pictures and photos and movies, but he will never meet him. But I think for me, it's harder to know that Tal will never meet Lotan because Tal was so connected to his kids. He was so involved in their lives and to watch them grow up. It was so important for him, and he was in during the when they were baby. He woke up at night and he took them to walking. He was such a perfect father, and this is a huge missing for me to know that Tal will never meet him. And that he miss Lotan, but he knew that I was pregnant. He knew it. It was really the beginning. And we were in Eilat, Kibbutz Eilat, until the end of the summer, until the end of August. And then we had to decide if we are going back to Nir Yitzchak or we stay out of Nir Yitzchak. And now we are in kibbutz called Mashabei Sadeh. It's 30 minutes from Be'er Sheva. And we are here something like 20 families from Nir Yitzchak. And in the end of this school year, I want to come back to Nir Yitzchak with the kids. We are trying to come to weekends. It's very hard because the lack of Tal is very. It's clear that he is not there
We
at
say
home.
it's very present that he isn't.
Absolutely.
So
And
Ella, will you go back to? I know you've just been talking about it. Do you think you will go back to Nir Yitzchak or start somewhere else?
yes, yes. Also, will we will go back because the kids want, and also because I have the feeling that Tal didn't die for nothing. He died while I saw the movie, so I can tell that he fight in the gate of the kibbutz. He wasn't alone. He was with Lior Dayev, but he really fight against 100 terrorists, uh, and he protect us, and he pay with his life for that we can live. We will be able to live in this kibbutz. So we must come back to Nir Yitzchak. And I want to tell you that in last November, we went in a delegation to New York, to Manhattan, and we had a host family there. It was very nice. But then I got the very hard, not hard, very strong feeling that we're lucky that we have people all over the world, Jewish people, I mean. Because if we were just the Jewish people just in Israel, it's not enough. It's it's calm. It's very important to me, to us, to know that there are people that they care about us as much as I care about myself. And it's so important to know that we have Jewish people all over the world, that we are together in this hard situation.
Ella, you should.
This is my story.
You should know just on that point that the Jewish community of Australia, which is particularly connected to Israel and a very Zionistic community, stands with everyone. And many of us have been to Israel and been to Israel a number of times, and everybody is doing what they can to stand with you, especially with people on the front line. And David, maybe this is a good opportunity to have a chat with you too. We've spoken on a number of occasions, and tell us about your work around IDF widows and orphans. Ela, thank you. I will come back to you in a minute, but David, tell us a bit about your work. And one of the things we've spoken about is supporting the mothers who have been pregnant throughout this particular period, and the programs and activities and what you're doing with the children. So maybe an introduction to the organization and some of the work that you've been doing.
Thank you. Of course. Well, the IDF Widows and Orphans organization has been around since 1991. Has more than 3 decades of experience in supporting the widows and orphans of Israel's fallen heroes. This includes not only IDF soldiers, as suggested by the name, but also Israeli police, also the Kitot Konenut, the security forces, as where Tal served in the Yitzhak, Mossad, the Shin Bet, etc. So the organization is not a response to October 7th, even though we obviously had to respond to October 7th in a dramatically unprecedented way. I think that the easiest thing to understand about the organization is that, well, it's all to my personal belief, the widows and orphans of our fallen heroes, such as Ela and her 4 amazing children, they have paid the highest price that anyone can pay, and they have paid that price for us. And therefore, we are indebted to them eternally. That is the A to the Z of what the organization is about. And I can talk with you for hours about the programs that we do and what we do and the lifelong commitment and, the central role that we play in Israeli society, the work that we do vis-a-vis changing legislation, vis-a-vis Knesset members, when we believe that there's something that we can do to improve the situation for the widows and orphans, and so on and so forth.
David,
but that's the easiest thing to understand. Yeah.
If you don't mind, take us, let's start with the numbers. What were the numbers of the organization on October the 6th, 2023, and what are the numbers today?
Sure. So I'm going to address a number that will be easy to grasp. Our commitment is lifelong. So we have, if I count all of the numbers since the beginning of the state, it won't emphasize the point that I know that you're trying to ask. So the number that I'm going to give you is the number of orphans under the age of 18 in the organization on October 6, 2023 was 368. Today, it is just over 1,000.
Wow.
This is the impact of this war. If we, in the past decade prior to October 7th, on an annual average, the organization embraced approximately 20 widows per year. In the past 16 months now, there are 315 new widows with the organization. So this is the perspective. These are the numbers. With this incredible and horrible influx of new members of the organization, we responded not only in attempts to scale the programming that we do and have done for decades beforehand. The programming that we do is psychosocial support community, where people meet each other. We have a program for children. Ela's children have been on it. She might mention it a little bit later, but there's a program called Otzma that is a long-term holistic program that accompanies the orphans from the age of 6 to 18 and is anchored in 4 camps per year. This is one of the most important programs we had to do. Just the numbers there also. In the Sukkot camp that we had in October 2023, a week before, there were 70 children participating at the camp. In the most recent camp that we had, there were 300 children. And I say only 300 because we haven't managed to scale to meet the need, and it's around 600 children that could potentially join now. So going from a camp that was 170 to whatever it needs to be now, this is the challenge that we're going to have to face for many, many years to come. You know, the war may or may not be ending. I don't know. I can't tell you that. But if it is, the day the war ends, our work is just beginning.
Yeah.
You mentioned the Let's program, and Ela might speak about that as well. She knows better than me as being a recipient of it. But one of the things that we did, in addition to scale the old programs that we had, or the program we had for many years, is to introduce new programs, because we suddenly found ourselves in a situation where we found we could identify groups within the group. And one of the terrible groups that we identified was the fact that there was a whole large group of women who were pregnant when they were widowed. When the program first came into existence just over a year ago, there were 28 pregnant war widows, Ela being one of them. Today, sadly, that number has grown to 39.
Wow.
Um,
Wow. And I know
so, and
that we
yes,
spoke to Mahol Shosh in our home a year ago when we first started, this journey, or we associated ourselves with your journey is the better language. Mahol was also with children and was pregnant. Just quickly, how is she going now, David?
she's well. I was in touch with her the other day. You know, under the circumstances, well. That's, you know, the sentence we always need to add. She's obviously also given birth since then. She's now living in Hatzerim near Beersheba. She has not returned back to Be'eri. I'm not sure if people have. Maybe they have or they haven't, but she has not. And under the circumstances, she has everything that she needs.
Fantastic. Please send her all
Mhm.
our love and
Absolutely.
the best. Ela, having I, I struggle to find the right words to articulate what it must be like to have the baby. I know not on your own, but on your own, if you know what I mean. Um, how did just from our perspective, because we've worked with David and tried to work with him on the Lechitzedek program to support mothers who are having the babies. How did that experience? Tell us, how did that experience go for you?
Yeah, as you probably all of you know, to raise kids, especially babies, it's very hard, and we need help. And I have a lot of help from my family and friends, but also I got a very unique help that it will never replace Tal's and the fathers, but it makes me much more free to be with the kids, with the older kids. And the program, like David said, Letzidech, it's next to me, stand by me. I got help with a nurse with a night over the night that helps me to be with the baby, and she brought me just when I need to feed him, and a lot of help of if I need to buy something, if I need medical help, like for me and also for the baby. And it's so important. For example, tipat chalav. I don't know how you say it in English, but we are going to the nurse, to the doctor every month to see that the baby is okay, that he's eating enough, and is growing up like he should be. And I don't need to go to the clinic to check it, because the nurse is coming to me, and they do everything they can to make my life easier. They help me to do just the how we call it, just just what I must do with the kids. Everything else I can get some help from someone else.
Mm. I'm still feeling your comment that Tal's father was Sundek. Being a Sundek myself of my grandson, I feel the power and the emotion of that moment very, very strongly. And, you know, to have that family all around you, I'm just resonating, Ela, that you're a widow, you were pregnant, your husband is still, his body is held hostage, you've been evacuated, these terrible narratives that have occurred to you, and all I hear from you is strength and a desire to make the life for your children as best as possible. And it's a very, very special story. And I know it's late at night for you, so thank you for joining us. David, maybe you and I can continue with a little bit of the conversation. I'm just conscious that it's nighttime for you, Ela. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us before we say?
No, yes, actually, I just want to say thank you. And I want to, and nothing is, everything you are doing for us, it's very exciting. And I want to thank you. And I want to thank the Israeli army, the families who lost their son, their husband, exactly like me, to protect us, to do everything they can, the efforts to bring the hostages back. And I'm so happy to see that people are coming back alive from there. I remember that in the last deal in November, December 23, I felt some kind of jealous. I jealous because I wanted to hug Tal and that he will come back. But now it's a pure joy to see that people are coming back from there. Really joy.
May you be continuously strengthened, chazak ve'amatz, in looking after your family. Your strength gives us strength. May our strength give you, wrap around you in a beautiful hug of love and support, Ela. Good luck, and we look forward to speaking to you again in time and maintaining a relationship with you. So thank you for coming on. Thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you, Ela. תודה רבה. לילה טוב.
לילה טוב. David, let's have a chat. Thank you for taking us through the numbers. So we've tripled basically in the time that you've been there since October the 7th. Tell us about some of the other longitudinal work that the organization is doing.
Which work? Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Some of the longitudinal, some of the other things that you're doing, some of the other families, some of the other activities. And I'm thinking in particular,
right.
And it was one I was thinking of, was the bar mitzvah, I think, at the Kotel when President Herzog went there. There's a lot of things going on that you need to address. Tell us some of those programs.
So the Bar Bat Mitzvah program is something that we've also been doing for many, many years. And again, right now it's all about scaling. There are two aspects of the Bar Bat Mitzvah program. The orphans, when they reach this age, within this framework of the Otzma program, which is anchored in the camps, we have two special events for them. One is in Jerusalem, where we have a very special and moving ceremony at the Kotel. The boys all received tefillin, the girls all received silver candlesticks, and we have separate programming for them and joint programming for them. I was there this past year in April when we had the ceremony, and it was both beautiful and heartbreaking at the same time, watching the boys putting on tefillin for the first time, each of them being paired with a soldier that's helping them instead of their father. Everything was wrong with that picture, I'll tell you that. This is also an event that we, as I said, have been doing for years and years and years. Let me put it this way. We don't need to chase the president down. They try to chase us down. This is a very important event for them. So President Herzog, or whichever president it is at any given time, this is an important time of year where on the same day, he will host these children and speak to each and every one of them individually. When they're in the room with him, they're the only ones in the room with him. They are the most important person in the room at that moment of time. Very, very moving. We also, in the same year, have a trip to North America where the kids go to get away a little bit and have a little bit of fun for 3.5 weeks in North America, and have that classic American camp experience, which I know also know that you have in Australia. So this is a very beautiful and important point. The understanding really here is like strengthening these relationships between the kids. There's one person once, actually, I'm going to sidestep a moment. One person once asked me, I said something about how much fun they had at the camps. He said, what do you mean that they have fun? Aren't they in therapy sessions and, bereavement therapy and, and isn't it sad? And I said, no, it's everything but that. Not everything but that, but really, this is the psychosocial support. That is the therapy, to be together and have fun with each other, and knowing that the kids that they're with are the only other kids that can fully understand what they're going through. Our understanding after all of these years and years of work is that a 12-year-old child who has lost its father can only really fully be understood by another 12-year-old child who has lost his father. Not even necessarily the other siblings, or not even necessarily their mothers. There's something that happens in that connection that lets them be fully free. So that's part of the Bar Bat Mitzvah program within this longer framework as well. Other things that we've done as a response to the war specifically, another group within the group, so to say, aside from the pregnant war widows, where the widows were on the opposite end of that, the ones who had no children at all. And it took us not very long to understand that the women in this group, out of all of the new widows, the ones who really weren't getting out of bed in the morning or not even leaving their house, were the widows who didn't have children, who didn't feel that they had a reason to get up. And we understood quickly that we need to do programming for them as well. And we started with a healing retreat for them, which I've spoken to many of the women who was in that program. It changed everything for them. They found a sisterhood immediately with one another, and someone that could understand them, and they keep very strongly in contact with each other. And it's been a very, very powerful program.
Yeah. The work you have to do, David, is endless. And I know in speaking to you that you've found your place in order to make the right contribution, the strong contribution to our nation and our people. I want to ask, this is not a fundraising pitch, but I wanted to ask, what can we do more of here in Australia? Fundraising, I know, will take care of itself, but tell me more about what we can do to make the connection work for both, because we are all in this together. Ultimately, that's the whole point. So what do we do more of here?
You do more of keeping an eye on this group of people in Israeli society. There is a general sense that after the funeral, after the eulogies, after the Shiva, things go quiet. And this group of women and children are left unseen. We move onwards and they stay behind where that is. I would like to change that dramatically. I would like their story and the sacrifice that their husband has done for us to be at the forefront. And it needs to be so for the decades to come. I would like there to be huge awareness about the work that we do, about the organization. I would like it to be on people's minds whenever they do make their charitable gifts throughout the year. There is a tremendous amount of organizations out there. I would like something to be reserved for this. I truly feel that we owe them. It's not a pitch. It's a personal feeling. This is my job, but I also wake up thinking about this in the morning. I go to sleep thinking about this at night. it is also a very personal thing. And so keeping the stories alive, speaking with women like Ela and other women, not only now, but also in a year to come and the year after that. As I said a little bit earlier, hopefully this war, this conflict at some point is going to end. Okay, and we're going to see a better future. This work is just beginning. It may not be an emergency anymore, but the path to recovery and the help that is needed to help them rebuild their lives, it's going to take decades.
Yeah.
Lotan, who was just born to Ela, he's going to be an orphan that is in need of the academic scholarships that we hand out, but he's going to need that in 21 or 22 years from now. We need to be there for him also then.
Yeah. I've said it before that I think this stands very clearly as a commitment to the long term of our nation and our people. This is not a commitment that speaks anything other than generational, and it will define so much about who we are as we emerge out of this war and as we change our society. Israel and the Jewish people have many, many, many problems, but the commitment to widows and orphans, which I think is over 30 times it's mentioned in the Torah, to look after widows, the poor, the widows and orphans, and here we have 2 out of 3 in front of us. That this is the commitment of our generation. David, I wanted to thank you for coming on tonight, and thank you for allowing us to speak to Ela. I just resonate with that, those 4 terrible, horrible narratives that she has to hold on to as, a widow, as hostage, evacuated, baby. It's one of those is enough. 4 of them is an incredible story. Thank you for speaking to us. We'll speak again to you, and I know you and I will be in touch, and reach out to us and let us know what we can do to assist. This is our challenge of our generation. So thank you for coming on.
Thank you very much, Adam, and thank you for everything that you do and for putting this story here up in the forefront. Not only now, but you really have been with me on the phone every month for the past year plus, and a true partner in this. So really, toda rabba, and thank you also to Ela. I don't know if you still hear me or if you're still on,
Yes.
but
I am.
yeah. Well, look, I'll tell you. I might have told you this before. I'll tell you again here on this platform also. I wish that I never met you. This is well, you know what? I wish that I never met you under these circumstances.
Much better.
I'm
Yes.
very happy to know you, and I feel incredibly privileged that I have held Lotan in my own arms. Very, very cute and sweet baby. I just wish that we would have met under circumstances, and that I would have gotten to meet Tal as well.
So,
and we're waiting for him to come back.
Ela, I hope to be in Israel with a mission this year. If I am through David, I will make sure that I come down and give you a gigantic Australian hug, that we lift Tan up together, and we give him, a real beautiful a kiss and cuddle. Thank you for coming on. Chazak ve'amatz to you, and
Thank you.
I look forward to seeing you when I come over. David, we'll speak again. Thank you for arranging tonight.
Thank you.
My
And
pleasure.
look after yourselves. Take care. Take as much
You
care.
too.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Be safe.